Hello there, my name is Lamin Jai, and today I'm here with Dr. Kebba Marenah. Well, just a few days ago, this top doctor made history when he led a team of Gambian doctors who successfully carried out the first knee replacement surgery in the country, a feat that has really resonated across all parts of the country. He is my guest today. Dr. Marenah, thank you very much for speaking to the Farmer Show.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Doctor, this achievement there, notable eclat. What can you tell us, first of all, about what happened?
So this was, it's been something that we've been wanting to do for a long time. So it was just finding the right patient and also finding a patient who can afford the surgery. The surgery itself done in this hospital is free, no cost to the patient, but they have to buy the implants for the surgery, which is quite expensive. So once we were able to get the right patient, someone who can afford it, we just managed to bring everything together so that we could perform the surgery.
So how many people were involved? How many doctors were involved?
So it's a big performance. To do something like this is not possible for an individual. You need a whole team around what we do. We have the junior doctors, we have those in training. In the actual operation itself, it was myself and two other doctors. We have the theater nurses, what we call the scrub nurses. They help with the operation, they pass you the instruments, that kind of thing. We have the doctor anesthetists, who's the ones who will put you to sleep or give you an injection, and the nurse anesthetist with that as well. So we're already talking about a large number. Then behind the scenes, we have the people who help with the logistics. We have the nurses on the ward who look after the patient, the physiotherapists who help the patient to get back to working. So it's a big team. But I think one of the things I can say is I'm very lucky to have a very good team. We have a very good team here, and that's what enables us to do these kind of surgeries.
And in terms of the patient, what exactly was wrong with the knee?
So the patient has something called arthritis. So in arthritis, what happens is the lining of the knee is worn out. So it's almost like having two stones rubbing together inside their knee. The bones rub together, and they have a lot of pain. The knee doesn't move very well, standing is painful. Even at night, sometimes they find it difficult to sleep. And she had very severe arthritis. She has it in both knees. So we started with one knee, and if that's successful, which so far it is, she will come back, hopefully, for the other side.
So she says she.
It's a lady. It's a lady in her about 70s or so. And yes, she's the first one. We have a lot of patients who need it. I have patients who come here regularly saying, please help me, how can you help me to do this? But this money is the stumbling block. If they can't afford it, at the moment, there's no other means to get this for them.
So in terms of the patient, how is she doing now? Because this has gone on successfully. So
she's fine. She started taking a few steps yesterday. We did it on Saturday, so 2 days later. It was a weekend, but normally we try and get them up even the first day after the surgery to try and walk. Today I saw her, she was fast asleep, so that at least tells me she's not in pain. But again, the physiotherapist will work with her today to get her walking. We're hoping maybe tomorrow she might be able to go home.
So what does this mean? What does it translate into when it comes to the country's healthcare? Because this is a country, we are faced with a lot of hurdles when it comes to healthcare. What does this really mean for the country's healthcare sector?
This is, for us, it's a breakthrough. It's the first time we've done it. For myself, it's maybe the 50th or 60th time that I've done the operation.
Okay.
So elsewhere, it's a routine operation. So really, these are things that we should be able to be doing for our people. They need it. There are a lot of patients out there who need this operation, and their lives would change if they have this operation. But how do we translate this one into getting other people to do it? And that needs the support and buy-in from the government, maybe, because as we say, Gambia is not a rich country. A lot of people, the ones who need it the most, are the ones who can't afford it. And we have to find a way to help them.
So you think the government should come in that respect, or how do we go about that? Because clearly, you have, like you said, we have a lot of people out there who really need, attention, medical attention, but they can afford it. So how do we go about making sure that they have access to health?
So it's not as I say the government needs to help. It's not that simple, of course, because the money is not freely there. We know that, but we also need to look at how we spend the money. You know, for example, this procedure, this patient maybe spent $2,000 for the prosthesis, the implant. If this patient, as some people are lucky enough for government to facilitate them going abroad, this patient would spend $15,000, $20,000 to get the same operation. So, for one patient going abroad, 10 people or more could be treated here. And I think that's the trade-off that we have to look at. You know, we don't just help the people with connections. We don't just help the people with money. We help the people who really need it and can't afford it.
So you are the head of the surgical department here at the nation's top hospital. In terms of the challenges or the problems that you face, can you take us through that? Can you break that down for us?
It's very challenging. A lot of what we do is challenging. I think when we produce good results, we produce it almost, I wouldn't say against the tide, but you know, a lot of the work we do is challenging. Sometimes it's almost a dichotomy. You know, today we do a knee replacement, first of its kind. Tomorrow, a simple surgery we cannot do because our X-ray machine is broken. You know, it's that kind of balance. You know, so we have a lot of frustrations, but at the same time, we have the willing, we have the people, we have the teams, the capacity to do a lot more. We just need to be empowered to do it. And healthcare is not cheap. There's nowhere where healthcare is cheap or free. And money has to come into it, whether that's from people or from a health insurance scheme or from the government. We have to put more money into it to get the results out that we want.
And also in terms of overall, in terms of the, like you said, it's not cheap healthcare, but in terms of your department, surgery, I mean, in terms of, you have a lot of Gambians now who are studying, specializing in this field. Tell us about surgery as a field. What is most exciting about this area?
I think, I mean, as you can see, well, you're not able to see this patient, but one thing about surgery is it gives almost an immediate impact. You know, somebody comes in with a condition, whether even it's appendicitis, you know, something, and you do an operation for them, and some days later they walk out of the hospital and you've cured their problem, almost cured their problem most of the time. And for me, that's the draw for surgery. It's curative, it's decisive. That's the kind of person I am. You know, I like taking decisive actions. Yes. And surgery is that. Today they come, they can't walk, tomorrow they leave walking. Someone has a car accident, their leg is broken today, you fix it and they go home. We've had instances, there was one patient recently, what I was talking about, within 24 hours, he had an accident, broke his leg. I saw him the very morning, fixed his leg that morning. The next day, within 24 hours, the man walked out of hospital and went home. That's surgery for you in a nutshell.
No wonder you became a medical doctor specializing in surgery. Yes. So I know maybe I should have started with this, but let's talk about Dr. Marenah. I mean, I know a lot of people might be watching this, young school-going kids who would want to be like you someday. Tell us your journey in terms of your career, where you studied. I mean, a lot of people would hear about Dr. Marenah, but they don't really even know you. No. So
I normally prefer to be in the shadows in the background.
In the shadows in the background, exactly.
So I'm Gambian. Born in Gambia, I went to school in Gambia up until Form 5. I went to Marina School. At the time, there was no medical school in the Gambia. I was lucky enough that my parents were able to facilitate me going abroad. So I went to the UK. I did my sixth form there. I did medical school. I studied at Imperial College, which is one of the top universities in the UK. Then I started my specialization. I finished in 2006, so it took 15 years almost, 16 years, before I was able to specialize in about 2017. That's how long it takes in England to reach the top of the specialty. My goal when I left Gambia was always one thing. I was going to come back home. I had no other doubt in my mind as to what I wanted to do. So after finishing my training, I started coming home every 3 to 6 months, evaluating the department here, seeing what I needed, trying to see what I could bring in to make it easier for the transition. And then in August of 2018, I came back home and started working here.
And how does that weigh I mean, a lot of Gambians, when they go abroad and study there, I mean, get good grades, they prefer to stay in those countries and work there. You decided to return to poor Gambia, where, the salary is not very, very okay. I mean, how does that weigh? You said you've always wanted to come back home.
I think is part of it is my personality, but I'm sure that also comes from my upbringing. Um, my father is a doctor. He studied abroad. He came home. My mother's a nurse who also studied abroad and came home. My sister before me also studied abroad and came home as an engineer. So I think maybe seeing all of that around me, there was only one option for me. My parents have always instilled patriotism in us. It's all about country, what you can do for your country. So that for me was my biggest drive. I could sit in England. I could continue working there. I worked there for many years. But am I going to make the impact that I've made here? Coming home, it's been 2.5 years. I think I'll be able to say that I have contributed and made changes to the department here, at least, and hopefully to some aspect of healthcare in general. That we will have more surgeons like me. I'm able to train surgeons. At the same time, I'm able to treat people and hopefully make a difference in the lives that I meet as I go across.
And doctor, I think you're from Kudang. Should be Dr. Marenahs and the Dr. Kurangs from Kudang.
Indeed.
Yeah, from that family. Let me take you a little bit back in terms of the number of patients that need surgery that you receive on average daily. Can you tell us about that?
So it's a very busy department. I'm an orthopedic surgeon, so we deal with joints and bones, fractures, things like that. So within the Department of Surgery, it's one of the busiest departments. We receive on average maybe 5 to 6 or up to 10 patients a day sometimes. And the majority of those are from broken bones. So we divide our service into what we call trauma, which is the emergencies like the broken bones, and the electives, which is like this knee replacement. So one of the sad parts of my job is the fact that even these patients, they have arthritis, they have pain, some children with deformities, things like that. Those are surgeries I would love to do, but we don't have the capacity. We have one theater, and the amount of broken bones from road accidents and things coming, we're not able to do these other surgeries. This surgery we had to do on a Saturday just to squeeze it in so that it was able to be possible. So we need to expand. We need to move to maybe either bigger premises or have more facilities where we can start doing these things more regularly. The patients are there. There's no end of patients. When we have our clinic on a Thursday, people spend the night here just to see us. We see 60, 70 patients every Thursday, and we see children about 30 or 40, sometimes 50 on a Wednesday. That's 120 patients a week, and a great number of those patients need something to be done.
And do you come across instances or cases where you have to refer a patient to, say, Senegal or to abroad? Because referrals, myself, I would receive a lot of people who would say, okay, I went to the hospital, here's my documents, and they say that I should go abroad for treatment.
I think we get some. I'm a firm believer in knowing your limitations. I wouldn't try something that I was not 100% comfortable that I could do. If I see a problem and I think this is beyond my expertise or somebody else can do it better than me, I will send you abroad. Or I'll have a discussion with the patient and say, the best thing is to go abroad. If you want me to try, because you're not able to go, you don't have the means, then we'll see what we can do for you. But there are certain things that we still are not able to do. We have limitations. But in our department in general, we have a lot of young surgeons, Gambians. We have Dr. Jaite, who is a general surgeon, does cancer surgeries, can do minimally invasive surgeries. We have Dr. Jabang, a neurosurgeon, who's also come back from abroad. Same with Dr. Jaite. So we have a very vibrant young department of Gambian surgeons who are trying to make a difference, bringing their skills back home, trying to make sure that we teach the next generation and also pave the way so that we'll get bigger and better. Hopefully, I don't think, I will tell my patients jokingly, there's nothing that they can do for you in Senegal that I cannot do for you here.
Yeah. Jokingly.
If I'm going to refer you, maybe you need to go to, if you tell me you're going to Europe or America or somewhere, I say, fine, there's things they can do for you there. But on a serious note, there are very few things that I would say is beyond my expertise that they can do in Senegal, they cannot do here, except if I don't have the equipment for it.
And now, what will you tell students? I mean, you have a lot of Gambian students who really do not have the appetite for becoming medical doctors because maybe they are not good in the very good in the sciences. I mean, what would you tell in terms of the secret to becoming a medical doctor?
I always say, so the people always tell me, would you encourage your children to become doctors? And I would tell them no, and they're surprised. What I always say is the secret to becoming a doctor is you really have to have the passion. Especially in our environment, 50% of the time you're very frustrated. And add that to not being able to help people when you know that in ideal situations you can help them, it's frustrating. So you need to be able to go home every day and feel good about what you've done. So you really need to have that passion, and that's across medicine. Otherwise, it becomes a very frustrating job. So if you have that passion, then do it. It's not the kind of thing you should do because your family want you to do it or your parents want you to do it or something like that, because you may end up disliking the job. If you have the passion, it's one of the best jobs you can do.
How does it also affect family? Because someone really needs to go home to his or her family, and you are a medical doctor, and sometimes emergencies would come 2 a.m., 3 a.m., you have to rush back to the hospital. How do you spread yourself to ensuring that what you call coming for nyokana sosofa but sosofa kana nyofa?
It's difficult. I mean, I should take this opportunity to thank my wife for allowing me to do the things that I'm able to do. I mean, I leave home after 7 in the morning. My wife is also a doctor, but I leave home after 7 in the morning, and often I'm not home before 8, 9 at night. And that's 5 to 6 days a week. Sundays, I say I'm resting and I refuse to answer my phone. And people get upset because they try and reach me and they cannot reach me. But there's only so far you can spread yourself. You can only, if you spread yourself too thinly, you're not helping yourself, you don't help anyone. You don't help the patient, you don't help your family. You have to have family time, it's very important. But I think I also do love my job to the point where some may even call me a workaholic. But finding that balance is very difficult sometimes. And especially in Gambia where there's so few of us. If there was 10 of me here, then, if you can't read Dr. Marenah, you read somebody else. But at the moment, it's myself and a Dr. Juf in my specialty. So between the two of us, we have to manage. There's a Dr. Ka who is training and hopefully is going to come through soon. And honestly, I cannot wait for people like that to come back because then it will release the load on me. It also means I can start thinking about other things. Doing something like this knee replacement requires a lot of work outside of medicine, trying to get all the logistics. And some of those things are not possible when you're so busy doing the day-to-day things. You need time to sit back and think and plan to make things better.
In your career as a medical doctor specialized in surgery, have you ever come across a moment where you say, okay, I have done this or I've taken this decision, I could have done it this way in retrospect, and you sit and then think back and say, I could have done this differently?
I mean, I will tell you every day. So
Every day.
I'm not a perfectionist, but along that line.
Yes.
And what I always tell my juniors is sometimes I'll do an operation and they say, boss, that looks great. And I'll start critiquing it.
Yes.
And they'll say, but why? And I say, there's not a surgery that you do that you don't sit back and think, I can do X and Y differently or better. Otherwise, you're not improving. Everything I do, I critique it as much as I can. As good as I think it is, there's always something I think, I can do this better. Next time, I'll do it better. And you have to be like that to be a good surgeon.
And one has to be really decisive and
Yeah, you have to be
innovative about it, huh?
Especially here. I was very lucky in my training, having trained in the UK. Everything, that's one of the model-free healthcare systems in the world. The amounts that you can spend on a single patient without having to think about it is amazing. So having everything at your disposal there, coming to a system here where we have to make do, it can be very interesting. Even just the operation we did on the weekend, part of what we had to do, we needed something called sandbags. We literally took these bags, the multicolored bags you get, went outside, collected sand, and put it in it to use for the operation.
Wow.
That's the kind of innovation we have to do. It's little things like that. But it works. We make it work. We do it in a safe way to make sure the patients get the best result.
And also technology. I mean, we live in a very advanced world, technology-wise. How is that helping your work?
We are still behind the times. We are trying to move. We're really trying to get closer to the ideal. If we're able to use technology better, we will improve much faster than we are. But we're not leveraging it enough. And we need to do more of that. In our theaters, for example, we managed to get donations. I have to seek donations for things like this. We have computers, we have a printer, we enter our notes. So now, if I need to find out about any patient, I can go to the computer and search. I don't have to go to records and look for something that might be lost. And patients also have records of their operation. We give them a copy. So anywhere they go in the world, they can look and say, okay, this is what they did for me. It's here, it's yours to keep. So we're trying to see how we leverage that. We're hoping to start on having patient records electronically so that anywhere you are, you can just pick up the patient's, look up the patient's records and update it or find out about the patient. It just makes life easier for us, for the patient, for everyone.
In terms of, I know the one thing that you like the most is the work that you do. But what is Dr. Marenah most interested in when you are not with the knife, when you are not working? What do you do? What's your hobby?
In my personal life, as we were joking the other day, we did this knee replacement on Saturday. On Sunday, I spent it at home with my wife in the garden, supervising some work there and doing some gardening. And, it's therapeutic things like that.
So you love gardening?
I like nature. I like gardening. I try and do that if I can, yes.
Any final words?
It's just to say that one thing I would encourage everybody to do is not think about barriers. Barriers will always be there for anything you want to do. But you have to think that any barrier or any obstacle in front of you is something that you can get over. If you can get over that barrier, then you can do it. Don't think that nothing is impossible. I'm sure if you said 3 years ago, and you said we were going to do a knee replacement in Gambia, somebody would have said to you, that's not possible. But we didn't go from zero to doing it. It's taken 3 years of building up slowly, increasing our capacity slowly, getting to the point where we can do it. So it's just about taking the time and having a goal and working towards your goal.
Dr. Marenah, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So that is Dr. Marenah there of the the EFSTH, speaking to me there on that very impressive achievement there by his department. Thank you very much. Until next time, I'm Lamin Jain.